George Howell Coffee with Ryan, the head of roasting, and he's going to take us on a tour of the roasting facility. Hey, Ryan.
Hey, Kat. As you just mentioned, I am the head roaster here at George Howell. And I'll show you guys around.
Let's go.
This is our quality control lab. We have our 2 QA/QCers here. Moving forward, we can start with our green area. To roast the coffee, we need to get our green coffee in. All of our green coffee is kept in freezers off-site that we're going to use for an extended time. We get our coffee in about 2 weeks before we're going to use it. We don't want any of our more specialty single states being here for longer than 2 weeks. Our broader wholesale, we can push to around 3 weeks, but much more than that, we do not want to do because we want to control the quality as well as making sure we're not getting any of those aged flavors that sometimes appear with coffee being too long.
So all this coffee will be roasted and out of here and replaced every 2 weeks?
So we get a weekly green order in because it takes around a week for the coffee to unfreeze. So we're rotating every 2 weeks fully, but half of the coffee will be out in a week. We'll get frozen coffee in that will be frozen for about a week, and then it will be all roasted within a week, week and a half.
I mean, that's a lot of coffee to go through in a week or 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's good. Keeps us busy, keeps us working.
Yeah.
We have our newest roaster, our Loring S70. We do our full bag batch sizes on that roaster, which means we have a 132 batch size. We have a 150 batch size. We also sometimes will do 101 between 105 batch sizes, but a little bit more rare to get out of that. Next to our roaster on the wall there, we have our beautiful moss wall, which we have to help deal with natural CO2 emissions in the warehouse.
That's so cool.
Yeah. When we first started talking about air quality in the workplace, it was one of the first things installed because it was very quick to get up there and very easy. But it's a way to help naturally filter some of the particulates, volatiles, as well as any CO2 that might be in the air from the coffee dropping from drum into the cooling tray.
Who made those? How did you know how to make
It's actually a company does it. They
wow.
I do not remember the name. They're like 3 years old at this point. But yeah, we got a few to start out with to test them, see what they were doing. But I think it's one of the more fun air quality control measures we have in here is living moss on the wall to help filter.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, super unique too.
We have our 70 kilo Loring in this area. The reason this roaster is away from our other roaster is firstly because the pressure difference it affects in the room. We don't want it too close to our Probat roaster.
They don't play well with each other.
They do not play well together. The pressure difference it causes in the room affects the Probat roaster significantly. And the other reason is that we have this space open and ready for it. So
awesome.
there wasn't enough room to put it with the other roasters.
I was going to ask why the smaller machines are relegated to their own room and this Loring gets the entire warehouse to itself.
Yes. It also produces a lot more heat, so it would be a little more uncomfortable for the operator to deal with it. Whereas those two produce a little bit less heat because it is a smaller flame on both of those machines.
Yeah.
So just trying to also disperse the amount we have here because it does get very hot at times, even though we have the AC running and cooling systems on during the day.
Yeah. And so we've got the big Loring out here and the smaller Loring and Probat in there. Is there a difference on what you choose to roast on the smaller machines versus what you choose to roast on the big one?
So there is a big difference between what we roast on our Probat and our Loring. For the Loring, we tend to do all of our more neutral flavor palettes. So anything that, as we describe it here, as TC might say, is a coffee. So a lot of our centrals, a lot of our naturals with less complex flavors, all of our blending coffee that's going to go into our alchemy blend.
That's all Loring.
Yes, is going to be all Loring. As well as most of our medium and dark roasts are done on these. Our coffees with more distinct and more varied flavor profile, meaning ones that we're trying to get big florals out of, big fruit notes that need to be very delicately roasted are done on the Probat, which is a little bit ironic, but between the two machines, the Probat is much rougher on the beans, but you just have to be that much more careful when you're controlling it. The Probat is refurbished from the 60s, so it is besides additional motors put in that we can control entirely manual. So it is very nice for our roasters to have complete control over when doing a roast, which allows us to get a lot of really distinct florals, really high acidities that are balanced with sweetness to carry some of the flavors we're looking for. All of our most expensive and more limited coffees are done on the Probat, as well as any natural that has a very distinct flavor, like our Sundrop and Full Bloom Medium.
Cool. And you mentioned the Probat is fully manual.
Yeah.
Are you running the lourings on manual or automatic, or it depends on the coffee?
So the when I said fully manual, I meant just that as where the lourings, it's you're tapping a button to tell a computer what to do. Our Probat is a valve that we open and close to let more gas in, and a flap that we turn to control airflow as well as controlling the FD. All of our roasters are done on the manual setting, so we actually don't use any of the automation features on either of the lourings.
Cool. All right, and I see you have the destoner as well on this machine. And then I see all of these buckets over here. What are all of these buckets for?
So these are all the barrels for that we use for the 70. They work great because they come with the wheels.
I was gonna say, I like we've got the
Yes.
casters on there so that you can push them around instead of having to pick them up.
Less work to pick them up. Also misspoke a little bit. They do not come with them. You have to buy them separately, but they're paired. Is what I meant.
Yeah.
So
they click in.
Yes, they click together and they don't fall over unless you're not careful with them. So it worked. The reason we don't actually have them stack up is because they get very heavy and they're very hard to deal with when you're stacking them up. So we keep them all unstacked and ready to go, and helps our roaster operating in the 70 move a little bit quicker and faster.
Nice. Oh, I see there's a different color. So there's like white buckets and blue buckets, and then these ones are red. Do you have any distinction between the different colors?
Yes. So the red barrels are in two different sizes, but the red barrels is only for roasted coffee. We definitely don't want to be mixing barrels for green coffee and roasted coffee. Getting all the green dust all over the roasted coffee is going to be gross. So we don't want that to affect the flavor. Also, probably not good to be, eating green dust.
No.
Or drinking, I guess, consuming.
Either way.
Yeah. The blue barrels are what we use for the Probat and the S35, because we take our burlap and jute bags and we barrel out into different batch sizes depending on what we're roasting. The white barrels are a coffee that you need to be extra alert about. So we have specific white barrels for our organic coffee and specific white barrels for our limited roasts. And that just it gives the operator the knowledge of like, hey, like this is a coffee that I need to be especially aware of, as well as, if we are unthawing something from our in-house freezers, it lets everyone else know, hey, maybe don't move this one around too much, or like.
Gotcha. So it's like a visual cue, just to be a little extra attentive.
Yeah, so this is important, or something different about this coffee.
Yeah.
For some reason, either it's organic, it is something that needs to be paid a little bit more attention to. It is a limited roast that we don't want to lose track of or get confused about or anything.
Totally. And I see, so you said that the big machine does bags at a time.
Yeah.
So do you weigh everything out in the morning for the smaller machines?
Yes.
Like everything out in the morning that you're going to roast all day?
Yep. So
that's like the first task of the day? Or?
Yeah. So we have orders coming in until 6 every single morning. And that's our cutoff for the day. The orders come until 6. And then our production manager generates a report for the day of demand, and includes any sort of tests we might want to run that I've told him of ahead of time, as well as any sort of pre-planned things we might need to get done. The roasters then get that sent to them every morning. And then that tells them kind of how they want to set up their day, which roast they want to do in what order, because especially on the Probat, you really have to order out the roast that you're going to do, especially if you have a white barrel of like something special you might want to do. If you're doing light roast to medium roast, you're going to want to know which specifically you're going to want to do in which order, so you can maintain the heat going into additional roasts.
Yeah. And do you do lighter roasts to darker roasts each day generally?
We typically try to do light roast to dark roast.
Yeah.
The machine each have a max number of roasts we're gonna do, and then chaff needs to get done. So depending on what the day looks like, the roasters can also plan that out to do, because a lot of times it's better to do a medium roast right after chaff, because if you need to use a little bit more heat, because the roaster is a little bit cooler, you don't have to worry as much about getting a roast note or an overly dark note in it. Even on the loins, which are much more gentle with them, you definitely don't want to bake the coffee or have any negative effects from over roasting. So definitely any warm-up roast to the first roast of the day, we have specific roast profiles for that differs if they were to do that roast at a different point of the day. And then also after chaff, we have to plan accordingly to that to make sure the day's set up so we're organizing the roast so that to mitigate any sort of defects that might come from roasting.
Yeah. And after how many roasts do you change the chaff? Does it change per machine?
So it's different based on machine, and it also depends on coffee. So typically a rule of thumb is around 14 roasts on the loins. I guess around 14 roasts on any machine, on all three machines. But if you're doing Monte Carlos, for instance, it's an El Salvador coffee we have in South. If you do 10 of those, you probably want to empty the chaff after, because we know from roasting experience that it's going to be a little bit higher up. So we definitely don't want to have any sort of fires or anything. We do have a fire prevention plan in place and stuff for if the chaff, if anything else happens, but we want to use that as little as possible.
Totally.
Yes.
Is there any like rhyme or reason to where different pallets go? Like, how are your pallets organized?
So we do it in a few different ways. The main thing is accessibility to the roasters. So I want to make their lives as easy as possible. When roasting, they do so much here, and the least I can do is try to set them up for success when we get in our green orders and stuff. But the coffee over here is done the most by the 70s. Whereas some of the other coffees are done just based on what's going on. So all the coffees in the middle here are going to be mostly Probat roast, where the coffees on the side there are kind of grabbed by all of them. Keeps it a little bit more open. Typically, the loins will share roast done. The only exception is we do not do any light roast typically on the S70. But we do light roast on the S35, and that's based on batch size capacity of the roaster. We just have more control over the 35 because we run the drum at a much lower capacity, whereas the 70 we're at like 90%. The S35 we're probably around closer to 60, depending on what size we're barreling out. Give it a little bit more control. And the reason we have the 70 more is because we're doing those darker roasts on it. We're doing those more heavy production roasts, coffees for pressed and Whole Foods.
All right, let's go see the other machines.
Okay.
And now, into the roasting room.
Before we go into the roasting room, this is a portable air filtration system. So it's one of the ways that we help keep the air clean here. It is in conjunction with
on wheels.
Yeah, we try to keep it between the two roasting rooms. I thought of one more thing I want to talk about out here. This is the makeup air unit. It moves around 6,000 BCU air in to help replace the air that's being sucked out by the Probat and two loins. We were finding that the cooling trays were not being super effective at sucking out the smoke and particulates. And that led us down this whole path of pursuing air quality. And one of our roasters, Lexi, has done a lot of research. The air is not being replaced, so there's too much negative pressure actually inside both the roasting room and the production room. we have out here, whereas instead of the smoke and particulates and volatiles being sucked through the cooling tray and out, they were actually entering the roast room, we found. So it was a big project to get that put in and replaced.
So this basically brings in clean air from outside so that there's more air pressure in here so that it can push it out the cooling trays.
It's raising the pressure within the warehouse so that the cooling tray can then be effective as to suck out all the smoke, and it's not being sucked into the room as well.
Cool. All right.
This is the other room to our roasting facility. We have 2 roasters in here. We have a Loring S35, which is a smaller version of the S70. We use that one for our less intricately flavor profiled light roast, as well as a lot of medium production roasts. And then we have our Probat. The Probat is different than the Lorings because it's a traditional drum roaster. And in fact, this is a refurbished version from the 60s. Whereas the Loring roasters tend to be a little bit more automatic. You're telling a computer what you would like it to do and it's changing it for you. This is all levers and wheels that control the roaster. We do all of our limited roast coffees on this, as well as anything with a very intricate flavor profile. I know a lot of roasters like to use Lorings, particularly for light roast, because they tend to be a little bit more gentle on the beans. You definitely have to worry about some roasting defects that can come out with these UG22 using so much more conduction. Really like the acidity you can get out of these roasts that carry a lot of florals and a lot of more interesting flavors, combined with a lot of sweetness that we work to get out of the roast, can create really balanced and intricately layered coffee flavors.
And what batch sizes do you usually do?
We typically do 33 pounds or 22 pounds, depending on what we're going for. For our more limited lots, we just split those right into even amounts, anywhere between 18 to 27 normally. We go somewhere in there, normally trying to get as close to 20 as we can, just to make sure each batch size is the same, because we have a limited supply of that coffee, trying to get the best results early on, and that comes from a lot of consistency from roast to roast. We have our 2 different colored barrels, our red brute ones. These are just like the ones for the S70, but smaller. And then our marked organic ones. These will go with the white barrels as well. Organic coffee that is marked as organic when sold has to be not mixed at any point with inorganic material, meaning that even if we were to fully empty out a blue barrel, we could not put the organic coffee back in it because it needs to be totally separate. We have a color track reader as well. The way this works is we put in 2 samples, one of the whole bean coffee and one of ground coffee. Laser takes thousands of readings. I used to know the exact number. I do not remember at this point. It is a lot of readings, and it compiles an average of them. That average gives us a number, and we input that into a separate data sheet for each coffee we roast. So there's a record of every change make. We'll take a color track reading. Anytime you do a new coffee for the day, it gets a color track reading. Any sort of limited or light roast done gets a color track reading today. It helps us manage consistency and also helps determine from coffee to coffee, especially on the 2 Loring machines that are trying to roast synonymously, getting them as close as possible.
Do you have to change the roast profile very much from Loring 70 to Loring 35 in order to achieve the same result?
So there are certain parts that I change and other parts that I don't. The way I like to describe it to kind of the roasting team when training new people is to take the essence or the feel of the roast without taking exactly specific things. And a big reason behind that is just the capacity at which the machine is filled up is much greater on the 70 than it is on the 35. So the airflow and general gas application is going to be different because the Loring's gas changes, or because the Loring's airflow changes when you change the heat. The 35 is going to need less power overall because it is much less capacity, meaning it is at a slightly lower airflow throughout most of the roast. This makes it so we can't have one-for-one profiles between them, as well as just more coffee in the drum needs more heat, oftentimes needs a longer drying phase. So we can take certain parts and pieces of the roast profile to try to get them as close as possible, and then great tools like the color track, and then of course our wonderful QC team help us make them synonymous with each other.
And do you have a range of color tracks that you're looking for, like in spec?
So yes and no. When we have a roast that we really like and we want to change certain things about it, we will oftentimes try to keep the color track numbers around the same for that, because if we're trying to get the same roast level out of it, even if we might be trying to give it more body or more sweetness or pull back a little bit. If something is directly lighter or darker, like we want to bring it up a tad or down a tad in roast level, that will directly reflect the color track numbers. But I would say from coffee to coffee, they're slightly different. A lot of them end up being very similar on our light roast side, because we're roasting a lot of our light roasts to the same roast level. But then certain coffees, especially if it's processed different, will have different color track numbers based on, just because the green was a different color starting out. Decaf is always going to be much darker than, say, a washed Costa Rican.
I see some safety information kind of at the forefront from all of the roasters that I know. Maintaining safety and wellness for your roaster.
Yeah.
So can you tell me about this fire safety kit and a little bit about the air tracking, air quality tracking?
Yeah, so I'll start with the fire just because that's a little bit less complex to explain. We have not had a lot of fires in the many years I've been working here, and if any one has happened, it's been mostly machine malfunction that has caused it, as well as one time an unfortunate power outage at the wrong time. That being said, we've also never had any drum fires here. Part of that's that we're a very light roast company. The other part of that is on the wall, that we have pretty strict standards that people have to follow when roasting. So goes with emptying chaff, making sure everyone's safe, everyone's aware what to do during the fire. The Probat has very little fire precaution on it, so that one's very much, we have hoses in place for people to spray. We have never had to use them, and hopefully we never will. We also have an external water valve on the chaff of the Probat that could be turned on in the event of a fire. Again, never had to use. Hopefully we never will. The Loring roasters have built-in water suppression systems, so that's very useful in itself. Knowing how to operate them and exactly what they do was a little bit of a learning curve, because in my opinion, the guides that are out there on the internet and different things don't go into enough detail that made me feel comfortable. So definitely creating our own to kind of go over safety, as well as having safety meetings about once every 3 months to go over the same things again with everyone, just so if in the event of a fire, if we were to have one, it's not so much, oh my God, there's a fire, what do we do? It's, there's a fire, we've gone over this for 3 years now. The air quality is a pretty new development as far as this company goes. Obviously, roasters have fire, need fire safety. That's a pretty obvious one, but air quality wasn't something that we even really thought about originally. There was not a lot of data we could find online about it. So starting off, it was a bit of a process to get things going, to kind of learn about what we want. One of the ways we did that was very consistent monitoring of our air. We use these little temp top systems, and we have placed them all over our building, as well as on our roof and in our AC units, and in every different place we could think of to try to get readings, to try to get a more understanding.
And what does that measure?
This measures particulate counts of different sizes. So it measures total particles. It measures PM 2.5 as well as PM 10. It also measures certain specific VOCs, but not all of them as a whole. We have also gotten air quality assessments done where we've sent out samples of, they're like little tissue pads almost that we leave in the roast room for like 10 hours by the machines. And we've gone out to measure to see if there's any really toxic chemicals in the air being produced by coffee. There were not, which is very good. We like to see that, which is good because we have put a lot of effort into trying to maintaining a cleaner airspace through lots of different methods, one with being the moss on the wall, the mobile unit, as well as the makeup air unit. We're looking at getting an additional AC unit installed to help move more air into the building, creating a higher pressure field in here, making the roasters more effective at getting their gas, or getting the smoke out when the coffee drops in. One of the things that the roaster Lexi, who goes into it in better detail in her article, goes into the envelope of the building. The envelope of the building basically, the way she explained it to me that made it make sense to me was that there is a force field around the building of smoke and particulates. And we expanded our force field, basically making the smoke and particulates go to other places and disperse more to be less toxic by getting custom stacks installed on all of our roasters. These stacks use the pressure in the roaster to just shoot the smoke and particulates and anything else that might have been falling around the building, getting sucked back in through the makeup air unit, as well as the air conditioning unit, just farther away and out. We've noticed a drastic increase in a drastic decrease in readings, but a drastic increase in cleaner air within the roasting system, or within the roasting warehouse, as well as the production area, and even our front offices from all of these things, which has been really promising. I mean, we're always looking to try to make it as good as we can, hence the new air conditioning unit to bring more air in. And also, it still gets hot in here even though we're replacing the air. The roasters generate a lot of heat, especially the Probat, which is an open system. It can get very hot during the summer. So trying to keep it a little bit cooler in here and replace some of the air. So it's good.
And to ask you about this sign, it says Coffee Connection. Tell me about the Coffee Connection.
Wow, good noticing. The Coffee Connection was George's first coffee company. He has been roasting since 1975. Wow, real convenient I was wearing this shirt today. In September, to coincide with Lyric opening later in August, our new cafe, we are celebrating George's 50 years in roasting, which is quite an achievement. We are coinciding those two things with a massive company rebrand. So expect more information about that soon. Let's have some very interesting things coming down the pipeline.
So follow George Howell on Instagram. Keep a lookout with rebrand.
After all the coffee is weighed out and roasted, and then it is brought out here to our production area.
A whole nother room. Oh, it's so much cooler and quieter in here.
It is much cooler and quieter in here.
This is the Zen area.
The red barrels are brought through the door by the roasters. Out here, they are separated into two areas. We have all the single origin coffees being here, and then all of our blends being pushed to the side here, next to our big blender there. The blender is very new and very exciting. For years, we have had, when I first started, we had our little cement mixer there, which we still do because it's much quicker and easier to use if we have any very small, quick blends of alchemy we might need to make. But after that, we had an original refurbished Java S Burns cooling tray that was very cool to have, very old, and very slow. So we upgraded to move a little bit faster, help production, a little bit easier on production. So we do entirely post-roast blending. Years and years ago, we tried to do a little bit of testing with pre-roast blending, and we just weren't getting the results we were happy with. It actually never went out more than just initial testing. we were finding we had a little bit less control over the roasts. We were hoping it could help speed up production a little bit, as well as maybe make the roasts slightly more consistent to each other, so we weren't having to come together and synchronize a bunch of different components' roast levels. We did not like the results, so we have since, well, actually always, because it never went to production, but since that, we've abandoned that and fully in the camp of post-roast blending is better for our company. It's better for what we're trying to achieve. One of the cool things, though, about our alchemy blend is that every single coffee that is blended into it is also sold as a single origin coffee as well. This just means that we aren't getting coffees that we're not totally happy with to be able to sell on their own. The espresso blend we have, our house blend, the alchemy blend, is for our cafes and also consumers who want like that classic sort of like house blend, I guess. But all the coffees in it are sold separately as single estates, just to different roast levels to fit a different profile. One of the things that George has been very against since the beginning is that blends erase the farmer from the equation, that it's very hard to highlight the farmers, which he is very farmers first. As part of the mission statement of this company. So having a blend that is also sold as single origin coffees as well has always been very important to us as a company. It can just be brought over right to here. Typically throughout the day, we have both going, doing separate coffees. Sometimes they put both tubes in one of the big barrels if they want to get stuff done very quickly. Each bags are hand weighed out to make sure the right amount is going in.
Oh, smart. Look at this this contraption put on here by zip ties.
This was actually made through CAD and 3D printed by one of our roasters. We all wear a lot of hats here at George Howell as being a little bit of a smaller in-house team.
Yeah.
So definitely when people have skills that is outside the realm of maybe just roasting, just doing production and getting the bags out, we like to utilize everyone's skills here and definitely give people a chance to really show what they want to bring. So made through CAD and 3D printed by one of our roasters to help open the bags for the coffee going in.
And how many people do you have on your teams? Like there's we went through the lab, and then there's roasting and there's production. How big is the team?
So there is 3 people on the QA/QC team, not including George, who definitely his voice is always heard in the QA/QC process. But there's Jenny is our vice president, also the head of the QA/QC team, and then we have 2 members of the QC team, one specifically for light roast and one specifically for medium and blended coffees, which are our medium blends. That being said, they're both coffee tasting experts and can both taste any sort of roast and give expert feedback that helps the roasters. I have 3 full-time roasters on my team, as well as 1 hybrid roaster that if people call out, we're exceptionally busy, I might need to split a shift. We can have her jump over, as well as giving some of the 3 full-time roasters a break off to pursue research projects they might be interested about, or to 3D print CAD bagging equipment and other things in the warehouse that we might need.
Yeah. Nice.
Production is, how many people are on your team, James?
4, 5, 6.
Haley's out,
6.
but 7 in total, and then Ever, how many people do you have?
I have
7, and then not including you? Oh, 7 including you, which is a relatively big team from where we were 3 years ago. So when I first started, there were 2 people in production, 1 manager, and 3 roasters full time. And since then, we have grown exponentially and continue to grow. Yeah. So we'll see how big we get in the future.
Yeah. Well, and you were saying that this space is relatively new for you guys. You used to be completely just in the other side over there.
We used to just have the S35 and the Probat and be allocated to just over here. Yeah. We had 1 bagger, no automatic sealers, was doing a lot more by hand. But also we had what worked for us at that time. We have what works for us now.
Nice. Great. And then so the coffee is bagged, packaged here, and then it goes into outgoing orders?
Yes, so then it is brought over here. The bags are then placed on these automatic sealers, brought over here. They are stamped with roast number and date for traceability. So we keep multiple logs of all of our roasts, as well as a log within the roasting software Cropster. So we have a lot of visibility from there's a lot of visibility from different departments you can look in. So if there's ever an issue with a roast, we don't like the flavor of one when it goes out to our cafes. We really like the flavor of one. It doesn't always have to be negative. We really like the flavor of one as it is cafes. We get really positive reviews, get feedback from customers. It comes out later that we might want to replicate what we did on different roasts. There's a lot of ways we can check back and find out.
So you can trace back the lot, trace back to the roast, see what happened.
Trace back to the green coffee, when the green coffee came in, from the freezers to the warehouse. We then have all of our retail section here. We don't send any coffee out that was roasted more than 5 days ago, which is part of the reason why we have so much incoming coffee weekly, is because we have so much we're trying to get out weekly. We try to only roast for demand, and demand for the day to get people as fresh as coffee possible. Anything that is longer than 5 days, we can either send to our cafes for brewing, depending on what it is in-house, because it's a little bit trickier to work with. And we also want to get people the fresher coffee when they order it, or it's given to local food pantries.
How many cafes do you have?
We have 3 cafes in Boston. We have one at the Godfrey Hotel. We have one at the Boston Public Market, and there's one located in Lovestruck Bookstore.
Oh, cool.
And then we also have a Newtonville location right outside of Boston there. We have a booth in Terminal E of Logan Airport. And opening at the end of August, we have our newest cafe called Lyric.
Awesome. So you send coffee to your cafes. Do you have other kind of wholesale accounts in town?
So we do all the coffee for Press Cafe. We also do all the coffee for Seven Stars Cafes, which are down in Rhode Island. And then we have a lot of single cafes that are buying from us around the Boston and New England area, as well as some a little bit farther away.
Yeah. And then you also, are some of these just kind of individual people ordered coffee on the website?
Yes, so we have a good amount of mail orders that come in each day. It's people ordering direct from us. We also are open till 4 o'clock every day. People want to stop in and get coffee. Here we are not a cafe, so we don't have any way to make you coffee, but you can definitely buy retail.
Very cool.
As well.
Awesome. And then the coffee goes out from here, and that's the end?
Yes.
And we're back at the beginning.
This is a little more in-depth look of our quality control lab. We have a lot of different fun tools to help us assess quality of incoming samples and then maintain quality throughout roasting, as well as making sure arrival samples are coming in okay. And then once the coffee is actually physically in the warehouse, that everything is as it should be. We have a moisture and density reader that we use for all of the incoming samples. We had an issue recently where a coffee came in and it was reading 1 moisture, and then we found out pretty quickly through roasting that something was wrong with it. Through keeping track of all this information, as well as much additional testing from our QC team, as well as some help from the roasters, we managed to figure out that the moisture had changed completely from the arrival samples. And that was a different conversation, but definitely couldn't have done it without taking very consistent readings. This is a big thing. We have our Larm Rozzocco espresso machine. Our espresso QCer pulls shots of all of our espresso blend separately to make sure each component tastes good on its own as well as combined in the blend. It really helps us kind of zero in on, okay, like we like this, but what component is giving us this? We don't like this. We want a little bit less roasty. We're getting a little bit too fruity. We want to be a little bit more chocolatey based. Which component's doing that? Which component's pulling too differently? Which one's on a line from itself? So espresso testing happens every week for different machines and different blends, as well as pulling single origin shots to make sure they taste good. So when we have our rotating single origin espresso shots at the cafe, everything is tasting great. We have 2 sample roasters that we use. We have a Probat one. This is George's original sample roaster that he's had for years and years and years. I do not know how many years, but a lot of them. And then our newest addition is the ROEST, which we got about a year and a half ago. We currently use them both interchangeably. Our quality control team have been finding different tests and things to do on each to help us in roasting, either by doing smaller scales so we're not wasting that much coffee, or to compare very specific things, which in the ROEST is great because it is full of technology and very consistent, a little bit like a Loring in that way. The Probat is a little bit like a Probat, entirely manual and very much relying on senses. And sample roasting is a good way to give you a ceiling of what you can expect out of a coffee. For the most part, they're very good at seeing how specific heat application might affect a roast. We are doing experimentation with titratable acidity. At the moment is a big project being done by Barry and Jess, our 2 QCers, and the sample roasts have helped with that a lot. And that has helped us prep tests that we want to do on the larger roasters for and have done.
Thank you so much for the tour. Thank you all for watching. Let me know if you have questions for George Howell in the comments below. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow for more coffee and coffee roasting content, and we'll see you next time.
Hi guys, thanks for coming along.